This is Laurel at Tara Farm and Nursery and the Refuge Permaculture Center. Every year I tell myself I'm going to do a bunch of videos during the spring, but boy, May and June are just so amazingly busy trying to work around harsh winds and get things done. And dealing with rattlesnakes this year, we had a couple of hot days. But I think what I want to do here is I'm seeing a lot of posts on food forests. And so I think what I'd like to do here is a little series of videos on what we might mean by food forests and permaculture. There's some really formal criteria, kind of dogma in some places as to what a food forest is. But I'm just going to go off what my experience here is and what I've done and been able to do and some of the mistakes. And so right now I want to show you this little windbreak food forest. Actually, it's not a windbreak. The wind doesn't come from this direction. This is a mixture of native plum and chokecherry. Chokecherry, of course, being very prolific in the northern Rockies, and they do well. These trees were all trees and shrubs that were not doing well in the nursery. So rather than sell them, I bring them out and put them in these windbreaks, which will become a food forest. So they were pretty ugly looking. I had to prune them back. The other thing you should know about my trees and shrubs here is I've had so many animals on the farm here, and every single tree and shrub pretty much is planted over one of the creatures that used to live here and has passed for some reason. Now down when we get to this end, these are shrubs and trees that were not doing well in the nursery, and I put them out here and I prune them back. You can see this one's really pruned, and then take care of them here. If they make it, great. If they don't, then I'm glad I didn't sell them to someone. This one's really struggling. I've left the grass long along the fence line here. This is what's called a tall grass trap. The grasshoppers tend to like to stay in it rather than come across the bare ground here, because that's where the birds can get them. Not that they think that, okay? They're not little people with funny legs. They're actually bugs, but they have evolved that way. So these now will take a few years probably. Oh, there's a bunch of grasshoppers in there too. But what happened to these? Because at one point in time, they looked about like these other ones. Well, what's happened here is, number one, on dry days, I do come out and water them. Not very long, just enough to form a pool on the surface and then let it soak in. But what's happened here is these have finally gotten tall enough to hit subsurface water. So water here is at about 9 feet. But these trees are planted downstream of my septic system. So the water's filtered by the time it gets to here, but it increases the subsurface irrigation, meeting the subsurface water and saturating at a higher level, so that these at about 3.5 to 4 feet have now tapped into underground water, which also means the only time I water them is when we have 3 or 4 90-degree days in a row. This little pan of water here is to offer water to the snakes on 90-degree days. As they move in from the grass field out there, hopefully they will stop here for water rather than going into the compound and scaring the bejesus out of me. Another reason that these plants came back so amazingly well this year is that the grasshoppers just devastated them last year. That kind of stress on the upper part of the plant, when nutrients from sun and photogenesis have been reduced, causes roots to grow. So that moved them down into the subsurface water level also. But it released a stress hormone, the same stress hormone that causes the roots to grow. And in the spring this year, they just went crazy with new growth. All of their energy went into the new growth. So there were no flowers. There'll be no fruit on these this year. But what they're trying to do is restore the captive energy that a perennial plant has. The grasshoppers are probably going to get them again this year, and we'll just see how that goes. So when you plant your trees for a food forest, these are going to be the upper canopy. Food forest tends to have layers and tiers, very much like a native forest would have. We'll talk a little bit about what trees are loners and what trees are communities in the next video. But don't be discouraged, and dig a hole, see where you hit wet soil, and that's the depth that your trees are going to have to get tall above ground to finally tap into that water. And that can even be on a city lot. There's lots of leaks in sewer and water pipes that put water underneath the surface level and will feed those plants. Doesn't mean you should stop watering, though. I'm a hand watering person. So don't get discouraged. Take care of them, watch them, understand what's going on, do some research, or text me, email me, ask me questions about it, or I can come out and take a look at them. So that's for today. This is the beginning of your food forest. Get those tall canopy trees and big shrubs in first and get them established. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy this day. It's gorgeous, but no fires, please. It's crazy red flag. Bye-bye.